Hello.
Oh, Harold, how are you?
I'm good, Abe. What's going on?
Everything's great.
What's that?
Everything is great, Baruch
That's
Hashem.
good. That's good.
Yep,
No fire damage, no smoke damage.
not by us.
Good.
A little smoke damage in your area, no?
Not too close. No,
No? You
no.
smell it though.
You can smell it. Yeah, I can smell it. Yeah.
Here you don't even smell it.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yep, yep. So far.
so far. I hope it's over. My God, it's ridiculous.
Well, that's it.
Oh,
The
yeah,
winds are
yeah.
coming through.
Yeah, I know. We were in the desert driving back, and the winds whipped up quite a bit, so a little scary.
Yeah, yeah. Not a joke.
Oh, yeah. Any travels coming up?
Yeah, I'm going to Israel on the 4th of February,
Oh, okay.
just for a week. And
Hello?
Any Asia trips coming up?
no, no,
Oh, that's good.
I'll try to minimize that this year.
Oh, you're back there home.
Yeah.
Too hot for you in the desert?
It was beautiful. It was 70, sunny. It was very nice.
It's been cold all the time.
The air was good.
You know that friend of Icho, I told you, I think that he has a house in Pacific, that is it.
Yeah, yeah. Did he?
The house is standing.
It is standing. Wow.
His and the neighbor. The rest, the whole neighborhood disappeared, only those two houses.
No.
Amazing.
Mazel. But he won't come back, he says.
Amazing.
He doesn't want to live in the, because this is going to be destroyed for years.
No. Oh, yeah. Is he the only house in the whole neighborhood?
Hmm?
Is he the only house in the whole neighborhood?
Two, his and the
Two.
neighbor.
Oh.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening. Sechsundzwanzig.
26. So
we were talking about a tax collector who was a tzaddik. Umigzi kulam, everybody, the people in the town, they all went hiding, so they wouldn't have to pay the taxes. Kiyasi, when the tax collector from the government arrived, Amarle, Miman nivu. Who am I going to collect the taxes? There's nobody here. So he saved the Jews a lot of taxes. Kinicha nivshe Amarlu, when he died, he told the people around him, Shkulut Kleser Moed Tsarili Besidinoi, there's 13 bags of money that I have hidden here. It belongs to Chaim Yankel. I collected taxes from him and he really didn't know it. I want to return it to him. So you see that they were tzaddikim, Yirei Shamayim. In the beginning, they just gathered Perosh Shvius. Later on, they were called Soichve Shvius. And the Gemara doesn't understand what's going on. My Komer, Amr Vidochi Komer. They used to say, well, people who just gathered Shemitah fruits in the field, which you're allowed to collect, it's Hefker. They just didn't sell it. So they were ksherin. They were okay to be aided. Soichrin, psulin. But if they did business with it, then they would be puzzled. But Misharabam Ansia Mos Laniyim. The Aniyim started going around collecting, and it sort of became a profession to do that and business. So they said it doesn't make a difference. You're all puzzled. This explanation was difficult for Rachba. The Mishnah said when the mafia people became stronger, it should say Mishrabu Tagar Miboyle. It should be the merchants. So initially, they said whether you gather Perush Shvius or sell Perush Shvius, you're all possible. Mishrabu Anosim Umayninu Arnuna. Arnuna is taxes that you have to pay for land taxes. And they didn't sort of reduce the taxes during the Shemitah year, even though they made much less money.
That's where you get the Arnona from.
Arnuna. Right. That in his opinion, they could plant enough during Shemitah to pay the Arnuna. Chazru Loimar, they changed the halach to say oisvin ksherin soichrim psulim. People who just gathered Perush Shvius, not do business with it, they were okay. Rav Chia bar Zrukni, Rav Shimon ben Yehoid Tzadok, Chazru Labrishona Ba'asya. There was a need to do a leap year in Asia. That's Asia Minor, like Turkey. They couldn't do it in Eretz Yisrael. They had to go there. Pagav Reish Lakish, Itfil Badayu. They met up with Reish Lakish, who went along with them. Why? He wanted to learn more halachas about Iber Shana, so he figured he would tag along. It was a Shemitah year, and they passed a guy who was plowing. Armelan Koyen v'chayrish? You're a Koyen and you're plowing? So this is what Reish Lakish said. So Amru Lo, the two other Chachamim said to Reish Lakish, what do you mean? Yachol lomer agistun ani b'soicha. Maybe he's like a hired hand for a non-Jew, and then you're allowed to work the land. Tu chazilahu gavrid have a kasach bekarvi. They saw another person pruning a vineyard. Amr lahen, kohen v'zomer. So Reish Lakish said, you're a kohen and you're working a vineyard on Shemitah? So the two Rabbanim said, he's gathering branches to make a basket for olives. That's permitted on Shemitah. Only the heart knows whether he is doing it for a basket or for trickery. Now, which case comes first. Here, liberation. Ilem Hakamaisaf was the first case. The guy plowing liberation. How come in both cases he didn't say he's working for a goy? Ella ha liberation. The first case of the vineyard was the vineyard about the baskets, and then Hadar Amrullah, they told him about the other case where the answer was that he might be working for a non-Jew. Now the Gemara wants, why did Reish Lakish call him a kohen? Ma'ishna kohen. How did he know that he was a kohen? Kohanim were suspected of not observing Shemitah. Why? So, saw a truma, a bushel of truma. Only Kohanim can eat that. That fell into 100 bushels of Perush Shvius. Tala. It's mevatel, it's nullified, it's eaten with the various stringencies of Shemitah only, which means a non-kohen could also eat it. But if it's 1 in 99, the pachos bekan yirkavu, then Yisraelim couldn't eat it because it's the truma is not mizbatel. You have to get rid of it. But the Gemara says, Vavina ba ma yirkavu. Why should we get rid of it? Yim kirena l'kohen b'mei truma. Kohanim can eat it. It's going to be cheaper because only Kohanim can eat it, so there's not the same supply and demand. Sell it to Kohanim for less. Chutz midmei oisasah. Except for the bushel of truma itself. And because that's given to the coin, he doesn't have to pay for that. And let the coin eat it b'kedushas truma, and everything will all be okay. So we don't allow that because Amrav Chiyam Shmei Ula Zoy Smers Nechshedu Kohen Mashvius. They did not observe Shvius carefully because they thought, listen, we don't have to keep Shemitah. They figured Shemitah belongs to them as well, just like Truma belongs to them. But it's not so. So because of that chashash, Reish Lakish assumed they were all Kohanim. Now, these two Rabbanan had enough of Reish Lakish. Amr true David did. This guy is tripping with us too much. They wanted to get rid of him. They went up to the second story in this house, and they pulled up the ladder behind them so he couldn't join them. They had enough of him. So Asala Kamei Rav Yochanan, Reish Lakish, came to Rav Yochanan. These two Rabbanim were not careful. They were giving all these excuses for people who were not keeping Shemitah properly. They're allowed to serve as the Dayanim to be Ma'aber the Shana. Hadar Omar, Reish Lakish later on said, look, Kashli, Midid have a Shlosh Roy Bakar. Even the Shlosh Roy Bakar did it Iber Shana 1 year. Ki Rabbanan Achshavinu Samuch. They relied on them. But later on, Hadar Omar Loida. It's not a comparison. Hasam, Hadar Imni Rabbanan Varvul Oshata, because later on, after the Roye Bakar said what they said, the Chachamim sat down, did a calculation, and figured it out. Hacha Kesher Rishoimu. This is a group of Rishoim, but Kesher Rishoim, I mean, you cannot be counted. And you can't rely on them. And Amr Rav Yochanan Do'aka, you're right. Kiyasa Kabed Rav Yochanan, these Chachamim eventually presented themselves to Rav Yochanan, and they told Rav Yochanan what Reish Lakish was chepping them. And Karilon Roy Bakar, and they heard that Reish Lakish called them Roy Bakar. And they were upset with Rav Yochanan that they didn't, that Rav Yochanan didn't punish Reish Lakish for calling them that. If I called you shepherds of sheep, they're also posel edus, because he's correct in his claims against you. So we said Kesher Rishoim are not minamin. My Kesher Rishoim. Shevna, he was one of the officers by Chizkiah Melech. Havidosh Betleisa Revusa. He would give drashas in front of 130,000 people. He was that popular. Chizkiah Melech, Havidosh B'chad Sar Revusa. He only did it in front of 110,000 people. So Shevna was a bigger draw. Kiyasa Sancheriv Etzarli Yerushalayim. Sancheriv laid siege. Kosav Shevna Pitka Shada Begiv. Shevna wanted to side with Sancheriv and sent a message over the walls in an arrow. And Shevna V'Tziyasu Ishlimu. They were ready to surrender. Chizkiah V'Tziyasu Lo Ishlimu. But Chizkiah and his group were not ready. Shene'amar Kinei HaRishoim Yidrechun Keshes Korenu Chitzam Al Yeser. Pasuk in Tehillim. But Avikom Istafi Chizkiah. Chizkiah was afraid. Omar Dilma Chas V'Sholem Not Yedait Dikut Shebrichu Basaruva. He has more people following him. Maybe HaKadosh Baruch Hu is following the Roiv. The Kivan Deruva Mimsri Inunami Mimsri. Everybody, the majority wants to surrender to Sancheriv. Maybe that's correct. Which we darshan Kesher Rishoim. The Kesher Rishoim, these are groups of Rishoim. They're not counted, so there's no Roiv. Halach lachzav loikever bekiver beistav. Shevna figured they're going to make him the king, and he sort of chose a place in the area of where they buried the David HaMelech kings. He thought he would take over. The Navi came and told him, Yishayahu Malach po, Umilcha po. What are you doing here? Who are you? What are you? Ki chatzavt l'cha po kever. Hinei Hashem el taltecha tatla gever v'atcha ata. So Rav tiltul the gaver kashim itza. Going from place to place is worse than a woman. Because this tiltul gadol is called tiltus gever. And this va'at ata amrav Yosef bar Chanina melamid sheparcha b'tzoras. He became a leper. Why? Ksivach va'ata ata, ksiv hasam. It says va'tzaru asher bo anegab gadav yufrumim rosho yeparu aval safam yateh. So there's a hekish between leprosy. Sanuf yitzanfacha tzanfa kodor al eretz rechavas yadayim. Pasuk in Yeshayahu, Tana, who bikesh klon beis adoinav. He wanted to embarrass Chizkiah lefichach nepach kvodah leklein. His honor was became embarrassed. Ki have nafik iu, because as he went out of the city Shevna, he thought everybody was going to follow him. Also, Gavriel achti ledosha bapi mishayrskia. Gavriel came and locked the gates of Yerushalayim behind him, so only he was by himself. Amrulei misharzecha. Where's your whole group that you said was going to surrender? Amr hadrubi, they abandoned me. Amrulei inken achuchi kamachai chaspon. So you're trying to laugh at us? Nagvu beikvav, they put a hole in both of his heels. V'talu bezin ve'susim, they tied him to the tails of horses. Vayu megarim oisal hakoitzim v'labarkanim. They dragged him over thorns and thistles. Honorable Lazar, Shevna balanai. He was steeped in immorality, in lust and immorality. Ksivacha, lech bala soichin azeh, Shevna asher laboyis. It's a pasuk in Yeshayahu. Ksivasam, vatiloi soichenes, that Abigail, who was chosen for David, warmed him up. It means relations with women. That Shevna was interested in that. Then it says, Ki hashasos yarsun tzadik mapah. Pasuk continue. Rav Yudav Ravena. Chad Amar elu chizki v'siyaso nerasim tzadik mapah. Look at the reward HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives. To those that he approves of. If the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, what reward is there? If the thoughts of some chayriv, ein and arosas, are not destroyed, tzadik mapah, what could a tzadik do? So we're going to examine these shittas. Bishmal manda amar Ilu machshavois of shalois rasha meaning sancheriv hainu dechsiv ki hashesus yarosu. The thoughts of Rishonim will be destroyed. Evan Haisa, there was a stone. Most of Vima Rishonim, Shasiya Haisa. It's called the Evan Hashasiya. From there, the world and the Aron was placed there. So the word Hashasus will be destroyed when the Beis Hamikdash is destroyed. Elman Domer Chizki V'Siyoso. Hey Ashkhan Tzadike de Ikr Shasus. Where do we find that Tzadikim are called Shasus? Yes, it says, may make him offer a dal, may ashpois yorim evyo. Ki Lashem etzike arts v'yoshes aleim teva. V'boy sebe me'ocha. Hafle etza higdil sushya. Armach alamani krashma tushya. Why is the Torah called tushya? Nay, shimateshes koich. It makes people weak who learn. Dover acher tushya. Shenitna b'chashai b'nei satan. Torah was given quietly so that the satans shouldn't be makatrig and say no. Dover acher tushya is abbreviation for tohu. Dvorim shel tohu ha'oila meshusas. It means it was chaos when the world was created, but the world came into being. Omer Ula. Machshava mo'eles afilu divrei Torah. Worrying and thinking helps for Torah. Shneimar mefer machshava sarumi v'lo sashana yadeh tushya. Omer Rabbi im oiskim lishma einen mo'eles. If that means thinking about other things can disrupt you from Torah, but if you study lishma, then bad thoughts will not influence you. Shnema rabos machshavos b'levish v'atzas Hashem itaku. Eitza sheyesh bo dvar Hashem itaku loylo. If it's l'shem shemayim, it will remain. On Rav Yehuda, Amosai, when we said that a gambler is pasul le'edis, it's only if that's the only profession he had. But if he had other professions, no. On Rav Amar Belazar, Allah Rav Yehuda, Allah is like that. On Rav Amar Belazar kulon. All of these things that we said were pasul. They need to declare in Beis Din that he's pasul. But what about roya? We said a shepherd is also pasul. They have to announce publicly that this shepherd is pasul. But the other mandar we know that he's pasul. I understand the mandar says you don't need an announcement. Stam roya pasul. We knew a regular roya is pasul. You don't need achraza. El mandamer by achraza. My stam roya pasul. What do we mean that every roya is pasul? The mistama machrinin alei. Because the standard is that you would be machraz on all roya. Hahi matanadav chasima le train gazlon. There was a star which documented a gift of a piece of land to somebody. Two people signed it that they were pasul because they were gazlani. Savra Papa Bar Shmuel Achshure. He wanted to say that the star is still kosher. Why? They never announced publicly that these two were pasul. Somebody's a gazlan only mid rabbanan, then they need achvaza. For the gazlan deraisa, mid boin achvaza. But if you're a gazlan mid deraisa, then you don't require achvaza. Dover arayos ganet. These are simonim. Amrav Nachman. Oichle dover acher, which means people who steal from charity community funds, and goyim would give these funds. It's also chilul Hashem, psulim leidus. Because they're showing that because of money, they will accept being embarrassed. Hani mili b'far hesya. That's if they take it b'far hesya. Aval b'tzina lo. If it was private, no, they're not possible. V'hesya nami lo.
Ernie, that when the Gemara says Amalei Ochle Dvar Acher Psulim leedus, they said that those people were eating. It's a euphemism for pork. That's what they're
Yeah, but that's
translating.
not how Rashi learns. Mekablet stokam and anochrim. These were people, they were goyim, like the
They
Christians.
got charity from the Gentiles.
They got charities from like that, Yechia Leiter, that organization that gives like $500 million to Christian, what is it, Fellowship of Christians and Jews.
Yeah, when they get from the basically
$500
from
million.
this, so there were a lot of people who say that it's us to give for Eretz Yisrael that money and all that.
It's not usher. Who says it's usher?
Yeah.
You can accept charity from goyim. Here, look, Rashi says, "Mekablet stokim anochrim, davi Hashem machmas mamon." So you can do it. You have to do it privately. It shouldn't be done with a big to do, because then it is a bizarre. Klal Yisrael needs to come on to goyim. So yeah, you have to do it privately.
Yeah, but that's what happens with these Christian these evangelists.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe there are people who don't take it.
Yeah, I heard there's a lot of people who don't hold by.
So, well, it says if you were
need to-
makabel them, before Hesher, you're poseledus.
Yeah.
Later. Aval bitzina lo. And listen to this. Uvresi nami lo amaron. Ela de'efsher leili tzuni bitzina. The kamav nafshe before Hesher. They could get money other ways privately, and therefore they embarrass Klal Yisrael by doing it publicly. Avaloi efsher leichiyusu. But if they can't get money any other way, it's their living and they're allowed to do it. So maybe the psak is that we're allowed to accept from them, because otherwise we wouldn't have enough. I don't know.
The halacha, it's paskin that it's us.
I'm saying regarding this, whether you can take from this fellowship of Christian Jews, maybe
the evangelicals. Okay, I get it.
maybe we go that it's considered chiyusahu. We need it. Rav Nachman. I'm sure there's truths are written on this. Rav Nachman. HaChoshed al Arayis. There's rumor that he, goes to prostitute. He's involved in immorality. Kosher edus. That does not possible. It's the issue with edus is you have to be suspected of being corrupt regarding money, not your morals. Being morally weak is not a psul edus. It's money issues. If you're corrupt regarding money, then you can't be an aid. Rav Sheshes, Ani Mary Arboin Bekatvi V'Kosher. That this guy who used to get malchus from the Rabbanim because he was involved in immorality, he was still kosher to be an aid. Amar Ravu Moed Rav Nachman Linyan Edus Isha Shehu Pasul. So this is interesting. We know one aide comes along and says, "Oh, this woman's husband in China, I saw that he was killed. Now she can remarry." So Edus Isha we won't accept from him, because we're suspicious that he's going to make it up because he wants to live with her. Amar Avina v'Item Rav Papa Lo Yamaron is lafuka. It's only if the testimony allows her to now be a free woman, that she's not a married woman, because then maybe he wants to live with her. But to provide edus to say, that the husband is still alive and she's still married, that we accept. There's no chash, because there's no ulterior motive for him that he benefits. Hang on. So pshita, why would I think differently? Maudasemo adifale, he would rather sleep with a married woman and commit adultery. Stolen waters are sweeter. He'd rather commit an isser than regular. So kamash malon the kama de kaima achishchichale. He still would rather have her as an unmarried woman. That's more shchiach and easier for him to sleep with her. So we don't the Havamina was rejected. Rav Nachman. Gonav Nisan v'Gonav Tishrei. Now, during Nisan and Tishrei, there's a lot of grain in the fields. Lo shmei ganav. He's not considered a ganav, he's not nifsa. Why? Ademili barisa. You're talking about a sharecropper. And he took davar muad. There's so much crops in the field, he pocketed something. Then he's not really considered a ganav to pasel. Davar shenigber malachto. And it's something where the fruit's already completely ready to be sold. Somebody will pocket it without really thinking, oh, I'm going to steal this. However, Ichrid Rav Zvid, the sharecropper of Rav Zvid, Chad Ganev Kaba Desaru Pasle. One of them stole a bushel of barley and they puzzled him. Chad Ganev Kibur Dihini Upasle. Another took a bunch of pomegranates and they puzzled him. Because this was not considered a davar muad, a little thing anymore. There were these grave diggers. You're not allowed to bury a Jew on Yontif. You can bury him on the second day Yontif, like Yontif Sheni Shel Goliyos, but not on the first day. And they buried him on the first day of Shavuot. Shamtina Rav Papa Pastel Le'edus. Rav Papa put them into cherem and said you can't be an aid. But Achsharin Ravuna buried Rav Yeshua. Ravuna said no, there can be kosher. So Rav Papa said Var Rishoyinu. They were over Devar Torah of Malach on Yontif. They're Rishoyim. How can they be an aid? So Savri mitzvah ka'avdi, but it's not like they thought they were doing a mitzvah by burying him. Well, how could they thought that? You put the people are put into cherem for doing it, so they know that. Savri kapara ka'avi l'rabban. Being put into cherem, they thought maybe it's kapara, that the fact that they were mechalal yontif, they needed kapara, but not that they're not allowed to do it. That there's an aveira. Okay, stop here. Okay. Tomorrow.
Crazy Gemara.
Yeah, very good Gemara. Tomorrow at 7:00.
It's extra.
Right.
Yeah, Sanhedrin is
Okay, shkoyach.
good. Shkoyach, everybody.
No, I remember. Hello.